Albuquerque voters have three choices for the next mayor, and over the next 3 nights, we will be profiling each of those candidates. We're asking each candidate the same 4 questions and an individualized 5th question. We begin tonight with incumbent Mayor Tim Keller, who is seeking his 2nd term. Here's News 13's Brittany Bade.
We've got more ahead of us, and I'll never let up.
Incumbent Mayor Tim Keller wants to keep his job. Keller tells News 13 running for re-election is about finishing the job and seeing the city through growth and recovery.
I'm committed to seeing through things like our Gateway Center for the homelessness, also our Albuquerque Community Safety Department, which is an alternative to 911, and the thousands of new jobs we've announced.
Keller says he's right for the job, our 2nd question, because he calls himself battle-tested as the only candidate who has led a city through the pandemic. Keller says his leadership is helping Albuquerque come out of the pandemic in a stronger place than surrounding cities.
We did that by doing a couple things. We made decisions that saved lives and livelihoods. We tried to keep our businesses open with grants. We put $300 million out for infrastructure investments in roads and community centers and libraries.
Of course, this is not an uncontested mayoral race. When asked about his opponent's weaknesses, Keller says Republican and conservative talk show host Eddie Aragon does not have the right experience.
Well, I think one of them has a lot of good sayings. He's a radio host, and so that makes sense. But he just has no experience at all in leadership or in city government or government of any kind.
Keller says fellow Democrat and Bernalillo County Sheriff Manny Gonzalez is not the one to solve the city's decades-long crime problem.
And the other one, I think, fundamentally is basing their campaign on a glass house. You know, the sheriff has been with me, but also for another 4 years before that, and has little to show for crime. Crime is our biggest challenge, so is homelessness, but the sheriff has been nowhere to be found dealing with those issues.
Crime is one of the top issues being discussed in the mayoral race. We asked Keller why he thinks he can fix crime when no one else has.
We've got to understand that we have to build on the foundation that we've created. We've put in $80 million in crime-fighting technology. That's gunshot detection software. It's also things like speed cameras. And so that's what we have to do going forward.
Keller's 5th and final question comes down to if voters can trust him. During his first mayoral campaign, Keller promised he would not raise taxes without voter approval.
I don't believe we should raise taxes at all unless we go to the voters.
However, just a few months in, Keller signed a bill passed by City Council that did raise taxes. Keller says he still deserves the city's trust.
They should, because I showed that courage and integrity matter more than things like what you say on the campaign trail. I walked into a situation where I had to give our police officers a raise. That's why we raised taxes. Had we not done that, our department literally would have fallen apart. And so that's something that I think people know what they get with me when they go forward. I'll be honest about the problems, I'll get the big decisions right, and we're going to keep moving forward.
Brittany Bade, KRQE, News 13.
Tomorrow night at 10, News 13 will sit down with Republican mayoral candidate Eddie Aragon. Election day is in exactly 2 weeks. We have a link to early voting locations and voting information at always on KRQE.com.